Hey, it's Adam. In this video, I'll be running through setting up Visual Studio Code for working with SFML projects using CMake and MinGW. You might want to watch this if you're about to take on some of my C++ tutorials. I also have a similar video for CLion if you prefer to use that. If you'd like help setting up a different environment, such as Atom or code blocks, then leave a comment and I'll look into it. Otherwise, come hang out with the community at forums.caf.tech. Someone there might be able to help you in the meantime. Alrighty, first we need to download some stuff. If you don't already have 7-zip or WinRAR, then you will require one of those. 7-zip is free, it's the one I use. Just come to 7-zip.org and download probably the 64-bit one for your system. And then to grab SFML, come to sfml-dev.org, hit download, go to the latest version. The first thing you want to do is read this red box here. It says the compiler versions have to match 100%. Here are links to the specific MinGW compiler versions used to build the provided packages. So that means to use SFML, the version of SFML we choose, we need to download the MinGW version for it. So we're going to be using 64-bit GCC version of SFML, which means we'll want MinGW 64-bit. Open that in a new tab, otherwise it'll take you away from this window. Wait for the download. Obviously, if you've got a 32-bit machine, then you'll be using the 32-bit stuff. Notice the 32 and the 64-bit ones are separate up here, and they're separate MinGW downloads as well. So back on the SFML page, I'm going to download this version here for GCC and MinGW. Just throw everything in your downloads for now. Alright, this is a part we didn't need to do in the CLion tutorial, if you watched that one, and that's getting CMake. CLion actually comes with its own build of CMake. This time we'll download it and install it. So come to cmake.org. Go download. Scroll down. You don't want the source distributions, you want the binary distributions. And on Windows, you want to get the installer. That's the easiest. So grab the MSI installer for the 64-bit version, or 32 bits down here if you need it. Bam. Now while we're out on the internet, let's grab VSCode. I prefer to use VSCodium, which is it's VSCode, but it doesn't have the Microsoft telemetry crap in it. It's up to you. You can use VSCode. Functionally, they're exactly the same, and the tutorial will work for both. So here it's vscodium.com. If you're using the Microsoft Visual Studio Code, then Google it. I think it's code.visualstudio.com. So click on install, click on the big blue download latest release. It'll take us to the GitHub page. Scroll down until you find Win32, x64 in my case. I don't want the zip, I want the exe, so that it installs for us. Now if you're running 32-bit, you want the IA32. You don't want the SHA-256 one, you want this one. You might see a different version when you come in here, depending on when you see the video. Doesn't matter, just make sure you're getting the right one. It'll say Windows x64 and have exe on the end. Now it's nice to be able to test your environment and make sure it works. So I thought it might be handy to just grab my tutorial files, which are written in C++ with SFML and CMake, and you can test it there. So go to github.com/caffeinatedtech, find my nibbles repo, and then download it. There's actually a couple of support files you'll need in here. The CMake tool kits we'll need, and another one in here. So if we just go code, download zip, save, it's pretty small. And that's it. Here's the Visual Studio Code site, just in case. Yeah, code.visualstudio.com. I was right. Alrighty, once they're all downloaded, we can fail out of there. Come and do some work. Downloads. Alright, let's start by... This one here is MinGW. It doesn't say MinGW in the title, but that's what it is. It's the only 7-zip file, remember? So right click on it, go 7-zip, extract here. If you're using WinRAR, it'll be the same, and it'll say WinRAR. Okay, that takes a little while because there's a lot of small files, but it leaves you with this MinGW64 folder. I want you to right click on that and go cut. Go to your C drive, paste it straight in there. Bam, there it is. We're not quite finished with that folder shortly. We need to put the paths into Windows, but I'll show you an easy way to do that. Go back to your downloads. Let's do the same thing with the SFML one. Right click it. Extract here. It creates a directory called SFML- whatever the version is. I like to just remove the version. Just call it SFML. Right click, cut it, paste it into your C drive, just the same as the MinGW. Now, back in your downloads, let's install CMake. Accept all of that after you've read it, of course. Now this is important, pay attention. You want to create a CMake desktop icon. It'll give you a tool on the desktop that we'll use briefly, and you want to add CMake to the system path for all users, or the current user, it doesn't matter, as long as you're adding it to the path. Let it install wherever it wants, or wherever you want it, doesn't matter. Alright, that's finished. We've got a new icon on the desktop, CMake GUI. Let's go into there. It should look similar to this. The only thing we're going to do in here is hit environment. This is just a handy way to get to the Windows path and all the environment stuff. You can go the usual way if you want, but this way is handy. You're going to find path in the list. You want to double click it and then hit the end key on your keyboard to go to the end. And then everything in here is separated by a semicolon. So you want to put a semicolon on the end, and you want to add two things. You want to put C drive, so C colon / MinGW64, and then you want to put another semicolon, and you want C drive / MinGW64 / bin. Those are the two recommended things to put into the path. And after you've done that, just press enter. And then OK. You don't need to reboot or log out or anything, your path's already set. And close that and forget about it now. Now VSCode. Before we do that, let's extract our nibbles. That's my tutorial files. I'm just going to extract to nibbles main, otherwise it'll dump a heap of folders into here. Alright, we can just leave those there. Alright, to install VSCodium, we run the installer. Accept the agreement after you read it, of course. I want to create a desktop icon and add to path. It says requires shell restart. It doesn't. You can check those if you want. Alrighty, I've had VSCodium installed on here before. Hopefully it doesn't pick up any of my settings. If it does, I'll point them out. So you want to launch VSCodium at this point. Alright, so we're at the welcome screen. First, you want to come to the extensions tab over here. Control-Shift-X. And you want to type CMake into the search field. This is the important one, CMake Tools. But if you don't install this CMake one, then you won't get the context highlighting and the coloration and the handy features. So we'll install both of them. CMake Tools is the one we'll need to configure. It's the one that does most of the work. Alrighty, so once they're installed, on CMake Tools, click on the little Manage button and go Extension Settings. You want to scroll down until you find CMake Generator. Mine has picked up MinGW already, but if yours is blank or says something else, you want to type it in exactly like this, MinGW space makefiles. If you type it wrong, you'll see an error when you try and build your project, and it'll say I can't find the generator, and you'll know to come into here to change it. You might want to come down and make sure your CMake MinGW search directories is correct. Mine has picked it up already. C drive MinGW64, remember we put it in there. And I think that's about all we need to do in there. Alright, at this point we want to open up our project folder. So go to File, Open Folder. Go to wherever you put the tutorial files, or if you've got some other CMake project folder, grab that. We'll just use this homework one, that's the most up to date. Alrighty, so it's loaded up. You can see the CMake lists file. We'll go through that shortly. You can see the bar down the bottom has changed. It says CMake, it says no kit selected, and this thing at the top popped up saying select a kit. You go scan, you probably ain't going to find one. So you want to press Control-Shift-P to bring up this handy little search thing, and just type kits. And you want to go to Edit User Local CMake Kits. You'll get this blank JSON file here. I'm going to give you something to copy and paste into there. So if you go back to my tutorial files, or back to the GitHub page if you didn't download them, you'll see this CMake Tools Kits JSON. Open him up. Eesh, looks pretty horrible in Notepad, right? Anyway, you select all, copy, come back here, just wipe what's in there, paste the new one in there. The formatting is correct now. If you have a look at it on the GitHub page, the formatting is correct here too. Might be easier for you to come in here to copy and paste. Alrighty, save that file. So after you've done that, you want to close VSCode and open it again. And the kits thing pops up. If it doesn't, you can click on where it says no kits selected, and you can see MinGW64 GCC. That's in that kits file that we just put in there. And if you put your MinGW at that path I told you to, then this is going to work nice. Select it. It automatically configures the build. If you see errors in here, then you may have done something wrong. Double check your kits file. Double check the naming of the folders where you put MinGW. Otherwise there could be an error in your code. Alrighty, the next important thing is the CMake lists file. If you're using CMake projects, you're going to need a CMake lists.txt file. This is where you tell CMake where everything is and what you want it to do. It's probably easiest, if you're going to follow my tutorials, you'll want to just copy this file. My first tutorial goes through what things do in here. The file has actually changed a little tiny bit since those tutorials. I'll show you that shortly, but that is solely to do with Windows and using MinGW through VSCode. So the important things in here relevant to this setup are your include directories. For Windows, you're going to want C drive SFML/include if you're going to build SFML projects. SFML, it comes with a find package feature that will find it for you and import the bits that you need. I had trouble with the built-in find feature. Apparently you don't need the find script anymore and it can do it by itself, but I had trouble on Windows using that, so I include the find script anyway. It doesn't hurt to have it there. To do that, you need to make this CMake_modules folder inside of your project folder, and you need to grab this find sfml.cmake script. It's on my GitHub page. If you downloaded the tutorial files, then you already have it. If you go into one of these tutorial folders, go to the CMake modules, there it is there. I didn't create this file, it's what was generally distributed with SFML previously. If you copy that and paste it into your project, and then also add these lines to your CMake lists file, then CMake will be able to find SFML and include all the stuff that it needs to. The other important thing for Windows is this bottom section. It will copy the required DLLs into the build directory, so that once you do your build, you can just take the directory and transport it to another computer and your game or whatever you're making should work. The first two lines find and then copy the SFML DLLs, and the second two do the same for the MinGW DLLs. If you forget to do this and your project doesn't run outside of the editor, then this is what you forgot. Now, I think this will work. Let's hit the build button and see what happens. So we got no errors, it says build finished. Look in the build folder, there's all the stuff. It's copied the DLLs in there. There's our executable. If we hit the little run button, it should run the game. There it is. If we also go into that directory, Nibbles homework, build, we can run the exe straight from here. Now you're ready to start building C++ projects with VS Code using CMake and MinGW, and we have the SFML library ready to go. Check out my Nibbles tutorial where I go through building the classic Snake game in C++ using SFML. Sure, it's not the most exciting game, but it's an introduction to SFML and also C++. I'll include links to everything I've shown in this video in the description, so check that out there, including my GitHub page and the find SFML script and the other kits script. I'd appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, and if you're able to, check out my Ko-fi or Patreon page. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. Stay caffeinated.